everyone, Leanne here from Jada Blossom, and I have a fun religious Christmas card to share with you today. Hey, so I'm using Jada Blossom's Slimline dies. They're Gnome Dies Nativity add-ons, Jada Blossom's, Gnome Dies Stable add-ons, their We Three Kings stamp set, and you're going to want to use either the Girl Gnome Dies or the Gnome Dies. And I'm using Christmas Blessing stamp set from Jada Blossom as well. And I did assemble these guys on the assembly videos for the Nativity add-on and the Stable add-on, so check that out over on the Jada Blossom site, YouTube site. I'm also using the embellishment cluster dies from Jada Blossom. So I'm working on this new glass mat, but I haven't figured out how to get my lighting right, so it kind of, unfortunately, there's a ring of light there that I'm trying to fix. So I'm using scrapbook.com's holographic mirror cardstock for my stars. So first I have a piece of Papertrink white cardstock cut at 10 by 7 inches, scored at 5 inches to make a 5 by 7 inch card. Next, I'm using a piece of American Crafts navy cardstock, and I'm going to stick that down in the background. I think this was roughly like 4 3/4 by, by 6 3/4, something like that. The bottom's going to be covered up though, so I wasn't worried about getting things perfect. I used my ATG tape to stick it in place. I used the Slimline dies to cut some of this craft colored cardstock. And I'm just trying to layer these up, and I'm going to overlap the bottom. So there's not going to be a frame around the edge of this. I'm just trying to give some interest to my ground. So I'm just going to add these on, and then I will just trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. There we are. So I'm just rolling that tape underneath, and then, like I said, I'll pull out my scissors, and I will trim along the card. So this is a really simple card once you have your little Holy Family assembled along with the stable. But like I said, you can check out the assembly video for those as they are listed under the gnome videos, under the assembly videos for the gnome, so gnome assembly, on my YouTube site and Jada Blossom's YouTube site. So there we go. And next, I am going to do some stamping on the inside of my card using my Misty. I'm using Christmas Blessings, and I also used this Christmas Scenic dies. I forgot to show it to you at the beginning, but I cut that same navy American Crafts cardstock out, and I'm just going to elongate the base of it just so it will span my whole interior of my card. There, so this is just going to be going on the inside of my card, so it's easy and fun, right? So there we are. And once I figure out where that's going to go, I'm going to stamp Joy to the World, the Lord has come. Like I said, using my Misty and some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. So there it is. The nice thing about a Misty is that you can stamp it more than once. And as you can see, I didn't get a good image, right? It's because this is such a big card and the paper is in between the hinges. So I couldn't really press that hard. That's why it didn't turn out well the first time. Now I'm taking that same Papertrink white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment again using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. There, so this says Christmas Blessings. And I will use the outline die to cut that out. There's the outline die. I'm going to tape it in place, and I will run it through my die cutting machine. I used my Anna Griffin Empress machine for all my die cutting today. So I'm just going to line that up, like I said, tape it in place, because, you don't want to waste your stamped image, right? Everybody's had their die move while die cutting. Oops, and I realized it moved even there. So I'm just going to try and make sure it's set up. So next, I'm going to line up a sentiment from the other stamp set. I believe this is We Three Kings. And I'm going to stamp on the outside in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink again. And this one says Away in a Manger, which is kind of perfect for what we're going for, right? We're going to have Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus in the stable or in the manger, right? So I am just going to stamp that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And this is kind of like a die cutting heavy card. It's not a hard one at all. So I'm just going to stamp that a couple of times to get a nice image. Remember, you don't want to press too hard, so there we are. Now I'm going to glue down this little scenic background to the inside of my card here. And I think this is a great stamp. You could use it on the front of a card. You could use it with some, fancy pattern paper, gorgeous blended backgrounds, and then add the silhouette in front and Bob's your uncle. You've got a really quick Christmas card, right? So I'm just going to move that over a little bit and make sure that my sentiment is nestled in the right place. There it is. And I will weight it down. Oops. I'm going to weight it down with my magnets because remember, under this piece of paper, there's that magnetic glass mat. I recently got it as a gift and it's lots of fun. I just have to figure out how to fix my lighting to make it work, in videos. But there we are. And now I'm going to trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors there. Whoops. There we go. And the glass mat, I believe, is from Glass Block Studios. It's fabulous, by the way. I'm really enjoying using it. So I am just trimming off that overhang with a pair of scissors. And there's the inside of my card. And I'll add my little Christmas blessings to the bottom right. And I'm just going to glue that kind of over the blue American Crafts cardstock. And I'll sort of nestle it in there. And then that will be the inside of my card, roughly. Whoops. There it is. So that's all right. Okay, so next I'm going to assemble the rest of the card. So this stable was assembled using G. Mint Tyndallow's wood grain cardstock. It's just a craft colored wood grain cardstock. And I also used the holographic cardstock or holographic mirror paper, whatever it's called, that pad from scrapbook.com. So I'm just going to line up this stable in the center of my card. And then I'm going to weight it down, with an acrylic block there. Just making sure everything is laid down and straight. Next, I'm going to get my little Mary and Joseph in place. Now, you'll notice that I used P13 stamping pad skin tones for the skin tones. American Crafts brown, gray, khaki, yellow cardstocks. And I also used Simon Says Stamps white pigment ink to ink around the beard of Joseph, just so it pops a little bit. Or the mustache, really. You want it to pop against the beard. That's why I do it. Just so it doesn't look like one whole piece, right? So I'm going to add in Joseph first, then I'll add my Mary. And like I said, this is really simple. Once you put them together, it's really easy, right? So I'm just going to line those two up and get them in place. There it is. And I do use my magnets now just to get them to, glue down nice and tightly and flat. There. And these are really strong magnets, I'll tell you that. You got to fight them to get them in place. There, I think that's all I can put on there at now. So there we go, and I'm just pulling off the magnets. And next I'm going to add little baby Jesus down in front. So I'm going to use two Stampin' Up! Dimensionals just on the legs of that little manger that the baby's in. And I will glue the top part there. So we have the stable and the manger. I think I called the stable a manger earlier, but you know what I mean. I was talking about this little piece here, but we can't all be perfect. I'm going to slip some of those little Stampin' Up! Dimensionals behind just to support that baby gnome a little bit better. Now I'm going to add one more of these stars on the inside. That's cut from that same holographic mirror paper pad from scrapbook.com. The same one that's on the front of my card. There it is. And now that that's glued down, I did cut the rest of these stars out of that same paper using Jada Blossom's embellishment dies. So I'm just going to add a few of these to my background to kind of have a starry looking background. And, you know, you get a few focal stars and then you've got a fun card design. And it was pretty darn simple. So I'm using my embellishment wand to pick these up and then I'll place them in place. You can get them from most places. I think mine was from Studio Katia, but I don't think that store's open anymore. I know all the other stores sell them as well. You could probably get them on Amazon too, you know. So I am just adding them on. It has a wax tip, so that allows you to grip your little pieces. Works great for sequins and stuff like that too. So I'm adding on my little stars. And my biggest thing with the stars is I always want like an odd number, and you want to kind of go visual triangles if you can. I find it just helps to make it look right. So I'm just going to make sure I have enough of these in my background. And then I will call it done. So I'm just adding on these last few little stars. There. And then I think we will be done here in a moment. I think that's good, unless I add a couple more. I can't remember. Now I'm counting. It's like, oops, I got to add one more. Need to have that odd number, right? And there we have it. So that is all. I'm going to add one star just with little baby Jesus too, because why not, right? So there it is, and that is it. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jada Blossom blog, Be Inspired by the Team, the Jada Blossom store to get your hands on these adorable dies and stamps. And thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.